Hey guys, how's it going? Hope you're doing well. My name is Crown, and today I'm going to read you some very interesting stories that I hope that you're gonna love. And now, without further ado, let's go! This is an old story from when I was in high school, taking place during year 10, 14 to 15 years old, while taking my General Certificate of Secondary Education, mocks and such. Bit of backstory. During my first few years at secondary school, I've been the quieter kid. Had a few friends but wasn't practically heavy built. On the slimmer side and not massively athletic, though I had good endurance. Coupled to being a bit of a social misfit but mostly the typical quiet kid who got his work done, I was an easy target for bullies, two of which in the same year and well-known douche canoes by both students and teachers alike. For this story, they will be known as Bozo and Popeye. These two would regularly cause trouble, including smoking underage, disrupting classes, trashing equipment, burning items in science class, that type who couldn't care about anything but themselves. I had to share a Spanish and a music class with these two, and Bozo had taken upon himself to try and wind me up. Over the course of about 4 to 5 months, every chance he got, he'd do stupid stuff like throwing paper balls, rubbish and such at me during class, stuff the pockets of my jacket with junk, steal items from my desk, that petty little stuff that built up. He'd also shove and push me on a wall or into a door frame given the chance. Anything to get me to lose my cool so he could try and beat me down, as he'd brag and threaten me he would. What was more annoying was the teachers either didn't have a firm hand or did not do anything, and this meant Bozo got bolder. He'd go as far as stealing my bag, hiding it or sitting on it, claiming he didn't know where it was. So after about 5 months of relentless tormenting, I was hitting my limits. Our family has a tendency to hold back our tempers before something triggers it, and we will go off like a hand grenade. In a rage-fueled moment we will be calm, then we will explode. My dad knocked one kid clean out after they kept winding him up, as did my brother after this event. The event. During one music class, Bozo and Popeye were sitting at the back of the class, doing their usual thing, and I had to pop out to go to the toilet. And when I came back, I found my pen was missing. I looked around my desk before I heard the snigger. "Lost something?" Bozo was sitting there with my pen. A fountain pen with my name engraved. I still have it to this day. I ask for it back and he offers it up, and then pulls it away, before Popeye shoves me back. I turn and call the teacher, whom asks Bozo to give it back. He refuses, to which she turns and says, "You will have to get it back after class. Now sit down as we need to continue." Bozo sitting there with my pen, not using it but instead starts chewing on it. My brain finally snaps, and my rational thinking went out of the window, replaced by a primal urge to screw this arrogant guy up as much as I could. The red mist descended, and next thing I know, I am being pulled off him by 3 other students, and the teacher was a mouse agape at the scene. Apparently I'd completely lost my cool, vaulted up onto my desk, jumping from desk to Bozo and Popeye's desk, dove on Bozo, knocking him backwards off his seat and coming crashing down on his chest, to which I sat on his stomach, to which I had then gone to town beating his chest, face and such. Bozo dropped the pen and I grabbed it back in the heat of the moment. We both got pulled up to the head teacher's office for the incident. I was pretty upset about it, but Bozo was already under caution for other incidents. The end result was he got a week suspension from school, and I was warned about my behavior but otherwise was let off the hook. I later heard he'd suffered bruised ribs, a damaged kidney, and several heavy bruises all over his chest which took a few weeks to heal. The aftermath of this event was as follows. The last 18 months of my high school were pretty good. People treated me better and I didn't get anything like as much grief. Bozo and Popeye soon vanished, as I didn't see them in class. I guess they moved into another school or class, as no one saw them on campus again. The kicker was when we presented our awards at the end of the year, record of achievement binder for those in the UK, remember those? I was the only person in the entire year to get their name chanted by the entire school year. Turns out word got around that Bozo had been finally put in his place by the last person anyone would have thought to do it. I don't know what happened to those two, but knowing their personalities, I can see them changing their behavior and likely ended up in some dead-end job. I've never bothered to check on social media. Not inclined to bother. This is a story that everyone was talking about back when I was young in our small town, and I thought you might enjoy it. Karen was a struggling single mother who had fallen on hard times. She had been out of work for months and was struggling to feed herself and her young son. Desperate for a meal, she decided to break into a local farmer's property and steal one of his chickens. The farmer, a widowed man in his 60s, had been working in the land for most of his life. He had always been a kind and fair man, but he took a no-nonsense approach to protecting his property. As Karen snuck into the chicken coop, the farmer heard a noise and grabbed his rifle, determined to catch the thief red-handed. When Karen turned to see the farmer standing behind her, his rifle pointed directly at her. She froze, her heart racing. She knew that she had made a terrible mistake, but she was determined to escape. "Please, sir," she begged. "I'm sorry. I was just trying to feed my son. I haven't eaten in days." The farmer's expression softened slightly, but he still kept the rifle trained on Karen. "I understand that you're in a tough spot," he said, "but stealing is a crime. I have to call the police." Karen panicked and tried to run, but the farmer was too quick and he grabbed her by the arm and held her firmly in place. "Let me go!" she shouted, struggling against his grip. In the struggle, Karen managed to snatch the rifle away from the farmer, but as she turned to aim it at the man, she accidentally shot her ear off. The farmer was shocked by the turn of events and immediately called for help. Within minutes, the sound of sirens could be heard in the distance. The ambulance and police arrived on the scene, and Karen was arrested for breaking and entering. From my previous stories, you guys should know that I have 7 younger cousins. In this story, it features Z. He is the 3rd youngest and is in the 3rd/4th grade. He faded out of his Power Rangers love and got addicted to Pokemon. I had no hand in this, I swear. JR, his older sister, 6th grade, had a binder of Pokemon cards from the Furious Fest set. There were only 2 cards or so, but Z was extremely happy and excited to show everyone his collection. So yes, I am 23 and yes, I still collect Pokemon cards. I had just bought a boot box full of cards for $60 from a fellow collector. It had sets ranging from black and white all the way to unbroken bonds. After sorting through the cards I have and the doubles, I was left with a lot of doubles. So when I went to pick up the kits to take them to the pool, Z made it a point to show me his card collection before we left. I thought it was sweet and I told him that I have a bunch of cards and once I finish organizing the sets for my doubles, I can give them to him and then we can go get him some more sleeves for his cards. Z was still so excited that he continues to keep up with me to figure out when I'm done so that he can get his new cards. After I took them to the pool about a week or so later, I heard from Dax that JR got into a fight. I meet up with the kids and get the story. JR had invited his friend over to play games. JR had gone to get snacks and the friend got nosy and went through the boy stuff. He found Z's card collection, emptied out the sleeves and stole the cards, in addition to $20 from JR's sock drawer. They didn't realize till Z got home from his aunt's house. She bought him a team-up booster pack and he was excited to add the cards. JR heard Z scream and cry and when he asked what's wrong, he saw the empty binder. Dax also went to investigate only to see JR bust out of the house stomping like he was on a mission. Dax followed, then JR climbed the stairs to his friend's apartment and banged on the door. When his friend answered, He punched him square in the face and they fought right on the porch. Dax was able to pull JR off of his friend, Dax being the oldest and a tall teenager. JR was screaming and thrashing as Dax held him. He swore at his friend, called him a thief and threatened him. The kid went into his house and slammed the door. When I talked to Chris, my cousin's mom, and she is my cousin, that makes the kids my second cousins, I think. She told me that she apologized to his mom and the mother refused to give Z's cards back because we have no proof that they were his. So I had a brilliant idea to get this kid back. Now, I know you guys were like, just give him your doubles. I was and still am organizing them, but he did have 1 or 2 rare cards that I did not have doubles of, considering I had maybe a handful of rares in this pull. A few months before, I had brought fake Pokemon cards off of Wish. I bought them so that I can train my eye to look out for fake Pokemon cards. The bin test the color, the spelling, the feeling, the ripping, and so on. Mind you, these fake cards came with a lot of GX and EX cards. Fake cards always come with ultra holo rares. To the untrained eye, these cards looked real, so much so that I tested it on my sister, mom, JR, and Z. They all thought they were real. I let my cousins Chris and Z in on the plan. We put the fake card in his sleeve and I tell him to brag to everyone he knows about the cards. He does. A word gets around the duplex that he has some ultra rare cards. The kid that stole his original cards of course hears this and wants to come over. I spend that night with the kids and Z is hugging his binder. The kid comes and he has his Pokemon cards in a small pile held together by a rubber band. I cringe at the sight and pray once we get them back that none of them are damaged. Both of them sit at the table and you could tell by the smug look on the kid's face he thinks he's about to strike gold. So I heard you got rare cards. Yeah, my cousin Momo bought a bunch of packs and she gave them to me, Z says. Z then opened the binder to show the shiny ultra rare cards. The kid's eye widened. So these are my cards. He laid out cards after removing the rubber band and I was happy to see they were still in lightly play condition. I trained Z on what verbiage to use when he started to deal with this kid. So you want me to trade my rare cards for those? They look common and they aren't near mint. Kid looking visibly confused. Okay, well I also have $20. I can give you the 20 and all these cards for those rare ones. Z rubbing his chin. I don't know. These cards were super hard to find. Hold on. He leaves, leaving the money and the cards on the table. He comes back a few minutes later and he has 2 tens in his hand. Okay, how about $40 and these cards for your rare cards? At this point I'm biting my lip so hard to avoid bursting into tears. This kid is about to drop real money on fake cards. I cough a little and drink water as Z speaks up. Z turns to look at me. Momo, do you think $40 in cards is enough for these? I tell him, I mean you do have 7 ultra rare holo cards. The decision is yours. I gave them to you. You know what? I can tell you have a very good eye for cards. How long have you been collecting? The kid asks. A few months. Z then nods. Okay, you got a deal. The kid's eyes widened again and I lost it. I'm glad my phone was out and I quickly pulled up a meme and then flashed in my phone. Sorry guys, a funny meme caught me off guard. Z empties out the sleeves and stacks the fake cards. He gives them to the kid and the kid gives him the $40 and the cards. The kid takes his new cards and leaves. Once we close and lock the door, Z pockets his money and puts his cards in the binder. He is so happy and he glums onto me. Thank you, Momo. I love you. Love you too, kiddo. Originally, I wasn't going to share, but then the fallout happened. I heard from JR that the kid went to school with his new cards. When he went to brag at lunch, his friend told him the cards were fake, and he ripped one to prove that it was cardboard and it wasn't white with a back line. The kid threatens JR and he wants his money back and his cards. JR smiled at the kid and told him that he has no proof. When the kid's mom came and talked to Chris, she told her the same thing. Needless to say, the kid is never allowed anywhere near the apartment and all of the other kids in the neighborhood know he is a bad kid and to avoid him. JR did get his 20 back from Z when he mentioned that his money was missing a few days later. Glad to know the fake cards were able to give back what they have taken from society. Okay, so this happened 9 years ago. First thing is, you'll need a bit of history. My mom grew up in a small farming town. Around 100 people live in the village even today. And because of some choices her parents and some older brothers had made, the family was not popular. She was bullied relentlessly by fellow students, teachers, and even the school principal. Another story how she got revenge on him. She moved away as soon as she could and lived overseas for over 20 years. During this time, she met a Canadian guy and had myself and my little brother. Due to family illness, however, we all moved to her home country. After my grandfather died and in the middle of a nasty divorce, the only house we could get was just outside this village, about 30 minutes from the main town of the area. This resulted in me and my brother attending the same primary school, years 1 to 6, as our mom did some 30 years before. Now the school has around 90 to 100 students attending, and one classroom for each year level. I was introduced into the school for the start of year 2. My brother is 3 years younger than me, so he didn't attend school yet. I am the type of student to either be doing my work or reading quietly, and speaking only when spoken to. My Canadian accent in the small town didn't help the fact that people already knew who my mom was, and so the kids that had bullied my mom got their kids to bully me. No chance of me making friends. Anyway, I hated the year 2 teacher with a passion. She was always calling on me when I just wanted to do my work and nitpicking my answers like she did no one else. I ended up being friends with no students, and all of the teachers/admin staff and principal bar her. When I told my mom about her, she recognized the name. Turned out, she was the teacher she had hated the most at that school too. I survived her class and went on to the next year very glad to be rid of her. Fast forward 4 years in, I'm in my last year at the school. Almost everyone takes buses home being a farming community, and every bus has an area where kids are supposed to assemble and be checked off so no one is left behind. I was given the responsibility for my line, as I'm easily the most responsible kid there. Keep in mind though, I'm still only 10. I'm known to teachers as being honest, as the year before I found a $50 note and handed it in to the office instead of keeping it. My bus line happens to be right beside the bad teacher's classroom, so sometimes she comes outside to see why we're being so loud if it's extra noisy that day. On this particular day, I've finished my head count, and my line is waiting for the bus to pull up so I can lead them over. I notice one of the smaller kids, first or second year, is crying, so I go over and sit beside them to see what's wrong. The crying draws the attention of this teacher, who comes outside and sees me consoling this kid and somehow draws the conclusion that I did something to make him cry. It doesn't matter what I or the kid says, she's given me my first and to this day only detention. Next day, all lunchtime in her class. It doesn't bother me as much as it could, as I usually just sit in the library and read all lunch because a librarian knows she can trust me alone in there. But that's not the point. So next day, I head to her classroom at lunch as instructed and sit and read. She's not happy that it isn't really a punishment for me, but what is she going to do? About halfway through lunch, the principal pops her head into the room to check how things are going, and does a double take on seeing me there. She discreetly writes me a note telling me to come see her in her office after lunch and that she will let my teacher know I will be late, and on her walkthrough slips it into my book without the teacher noticing. Lunch finishes and I go to the principal. She asks me what happened to get me in trouble and I tell her that the teacher wouldn't listen, even when the other kid told her that I was trying to cheer him up. She hums and sends me back to class. At the end of the week, we have school assemblies. With all students and teachers present, parents invited, nothing special. This one was a little different though, as at the end of the assembly, the evil teacher stands up. I've never seen her look so small. She was forced by the principal to apologize to me for giving me wrongful detention in front of 90 to 100 kids, all of her co-workers and around 10 sets of parents, in front of 90 to 100 kids, all of her co-workers, and around 10 sets of parents. She was very respectful after that, and it even got her off my little brother's back, one of the most satisfying moments of my life. And my mom was also very happy when I told her. And now we have reached the end of today's stories. Thank you for watching and see you next time.